And there we go. We're
We
live.
are.
Just like that.
We're live.
Yeah,
Here we are. Hey, no intro this
we
week.
are.
I am
Yeah.
Frank Roneski from Southern New Jersey in the
And I
Philadelphia
am
Marlins.
Darren Peppard.
Won again today. I don't know if you saw, but they had a 4 o'clock game. They won again today, which is amazing. I think that's more games
Yeah.
than they won all last year. But what the heck? It was a shortened season.
Well, yeah, I mean they get 102 more opportunities to have more wins than they had last year this year. So
Yeah,
at least in
yeah,
theory, that's how it should play out for them.
that's. I mean,
Yeah,
162 games. That's a lot.
it is. It is. Yeah, that's just
81
crazy.
home
That's just
games.
crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
It
And I'm
really
Darren
is.
Peppard out here in Colorado, where the Rockies are off to their usual start. I believe they're 1-4 or 1-5 at this point in time, and all of those have been home games. So there you go. If you can't win in the rarefied air of Denver, you're not winning anywhere. So there we
This
go.
Check this out. 50th episode of the Empower Half Hour, everybody's fastest half hour of the week. How about that? Inception. It was just an idea. Here we are 50 episodes later, and we haven't gotten canceled.
Yeah, it's
Solid.
amazing
That's
that
solid.
that somehow the internet hasn't reached out and said, "Okay, you guys just need to stop. Just stop."
I mean,
Yeah,
who do
it's
you call
crazy.
the internet? I mean, everybody's opinion isn't always right.
That is
So
that is absolutely true. Yeah, yeah. So I got to tell you, I mean, it's pretty amazing. 50 episodes. Earlier this week, I know it happened for you. It happened for Bradley. You have the memory pop up on Facebook of the video that we very first shot a year ago to promote our first ever episode of the Empower Half Hour, and now here we are, 50 episodes in, and unfortunately, Bradley's not going to be able to join us tonight, so it'll just be the two of us having some conversation. Right now, it looks like um, we've got Lisa Tobin joining us from Missouri, and looks like she's excited for a little Cardinals baseball tomorrow. Enjoyed Nolan Arenado, and I noticed he's already hit a home run for the Cardinals. But you know, there you go. So yeah, it's pretty hard to believe that we're 50 episodes into this process, man. It's wild. Just maybe kind of share a little bit for those that are watch the replay when you first reached out, because the way I recall this, you reached out to me first and said, "Hey, let's do something." But I don't think you really knew what you wanted to do. So I don't know. Do you remember when this all started?
I do, but I would be remiss if I didn't reinforce that we had that memory pop up from a year ago. And I have to say, none of us look like we have aged a bit, which is a tribute to the way we take care of ourselves. I mean, first, I mean,
Right.
let's face it. I mean, one of the things we said we were going to do is take care of ourselves. And a year
Yeah.
ago, we look almost exactly the same. How about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have definitely met that goal. It might be one of the few goals that we've met, but we definitely have met the goal of continuing to take care of ourselves. So
Yeah,
so
and you were talking
yeah.
about when this whole pandemic hit. I think we were in different groups virtually, and I think one of the things that we all agreed upon across the world is we need to stay active. We need to still promote what we believe in, and we need to hear from everyone else and what they're doing to stay connected, to stay solid, to keep that love growing. So when I reached out to you, the idea was let's get something going. It's not gonna drag out. It's gonna be a quick half an hour. We started with 3 questions. We were going to lay out these are the 3 questions, and that's what we did for about maybe 10, 15 weeks before we decided, you know
Yeah.
what, this is going way too quick, and let's just bring in a guest. But I
Right.
think that when if I had to listen, I can't list them. My memory, one thing that has deteriorated is my memory. But if we had to list the guests that we had over the last year, unbelievable. I
Wow.
mean, I pale in comparison to some of the knowledgeable
Oh, likewise.
educators
Yeah.
and people in general that have humbled me to speak on our show, and we're just
Yeah.
jamming. So we are just we're
Yeah.
just jamming, and it has
Yeah. For
this
sure.
this it looks like it's on the wrong side, but this internal flame going in this guy right here, and now
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen when I walk up the steps. It could be dogs barking, children screaming, but right now on the Empower Half Hour, it's a solid. And I just want thank you to everybody that listened to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, for sure. It is amazing, to think back and, you mentioned, those first however many episodes it was that we just wrote three questions and then we reached out to people and said, hey, you know, give us some answers, or we asked them to answer it, as we were on the show, because we just really didn't know what the hell we were doing. But, you know, as my memory serves, there were two guests that didn't force us to, but gave us the opportunity to reflect and say, let's change the format. And it was Weston Kieschnick. So we had Weston on to talk about blended learning and, about his book and actually at that time, his new book, which is Breaking Bold. But I remember we had these three questions and we let Weston just start talking. And it was just like, let's just let Weston talk about this. And then we had, wow, holy smokes, I know him really well, and his name is leaving me right now. Oh my goodness, you got to help me here, Frank. We had.
I got a million names that pop into my head, but I know one of the things
he lived on Park's couch,
yeah.
And
came
on.
I was thinking the same thing. D. Hankins.
Yeah, D. Hankins. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, D.
Just
for me to forget your name, because I was thinking about D earlier today, and if you recall, we had D on, and it was just after the terrible events that happened with George Floyd, and then some of the ensuing things that were happening around our country. And I don't know if you, Bradley, and I combined to say 20 words in that episode, and that was fine. I mean, just listening to Dee talk. At that moment, I really felt like we shifted how we did this show to really just like what I try to do with Ro Dawson, just lift up the voices of others. And man, that episode with D. Hankins still, to me, just I get goosebumps talking about it.
I mean, that guy's amazing. And check out his Instagram feed today. I caught something that he was talking about. I'm paraphrasing now, but it was a picture of him with a megaphone up in this football stadium stands at his high school. And the memory was something like, I never played football, but a lot of my friends did, and I just supported what they do. So I'm out there at every game, so much so that the community gave me a community award for supporting the football team. End result, just be yourself. And that
sure.
most of the time translates into amazing people that we've come in contact with. And we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg in the amount of people that we still continue to connect with. And they just,
for sure.
Wow. Keep them coming.
Yeah, for sure. It's been amazing. And I do have to, remind everybody it is National Beer Day. So Frank and I say cheers to you, and cheers to all those fantastic beer makers out there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So I think back on, as I look at your surfboards on the wall, and the pictures behind me, and just how over the course of time we've all evolved our Zoom backgrounds, just to now have something behind us instead of just a plain wall or something like that. And the reason I bring that up, I want to talk about one of our guests that we had partway through, and the reason I want to talk about her is, one, because of her backdrop, and then number two, because she and I co-authored this baby right here our kids' book, Road to Awesome: A Journey for Kids. Jillian Du Bois. Jillian is, man, what a hero, what a rock star. But keep in mind, when Jillian came on, her backdrop was her shower curtain. So,
And it was,
you know,
yeah, it was freaking me out too. In the
yeah, it
respect
was.
that
It was weird.
I thought somebody was
Yeah.
going to jump out of the bathtub like that
Yeah, exactly. It
show.
was like The Shining, you know.
The
Yeah.
show, the guy that played his mama, Hotel Bates.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Norman. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. So big shout out to Jillian. She was a wonderful guest to have on. That was just right around the time that Live Seashells had come out. So that's one that kind of stands out to me a little bit too. But man, we've had so many great guests, and I see Lisa Tobin is commenting on here, and Lisa's got kind of an interesting, I guess, Empower Half Hour story. She's one of the few guests we had on that froze up pretty much the entire time, and we are going to have Lisa back on not too far down the road. She's got a lot of really good work that she's doing with her podcast and some other things. She and I've had some conversations about some potential work together too. So, yeah, so that was an interesting episode that night.
And how about this? We do have some giveaways tonight. So if your friends, you don't see them listed here at the Empower Half Hour, either on the Twitter Live or Facebook Live, tell them to jump on, because we have T-shirts, we have books, and we have tickets to the Codebreaker Power Summit coming up in a couple of weeks. So your chances are pretty strong to DM us either on Facebook or Twitter, and you can get some of
our
this
awesome swag.
Some of this love, huh? Some of this love, huh? Fired up on that.
I need to win that shirt.
Dude, or just send me your size. But
that's true. Yeah, and I got to get you one of these coming your way.
The cover of my first book, still fired up, but on the back, calling all heretics, outliers, and disruptors.
And that is what we are, right?
Win the first one, win the next one. Core boards.
Get some core boards.
If you tune in tonight, you're going to win a prize.
You're going to be a winner. You're going to be a winner. It's pretty much guaranteed. You know, it really, really is. And hopefully we're going to start, seeing a few more people pop in. I mean, obviously we know that Lisa's going to be a winner, and looks like we have Barb is on here as well. It'd be great to give something away to Barb. We'll figure out what we're going to give away here pretty quick, but yeah, I'd say sometime here in the next 10 or 15 minutes, we'll start rocking and rolling with this. So,
one of the things I'm going to lay out there, if you guys have any questions, type them in. We'll do our best to answer them 100% honestly. And besides that, now you're talking about the books that you came out with. I came out with my second book during the Empower Half Hour. How did it come about for you?
So, are you talking about my first one or my second one?
No, I'm talking. Okay, well, in the midst of the Empower Half Hour, both of your books came out actually.
There you go.
So,
that's true. Yeah. So we'll go back to that first one. Yeah, so we'll go back to the first one, and actually, I think we were just I don't know, we couldn't have been 3, 4, 5 episodes in, and we had Brian Aspinall jump on. I had been working on Road to Awesome for I don't know, a while, and had been working with, or communicating with another publisher, and it just was kind of dragging. And our mutual friend Don Epps and I had a phone conversation, and he said, "Hey, you really need to connect with Brian Aspinall." Shared his cell phone with me, and I reached out to Brian, and he got back to me right away. He's like, send me what you got. Let's take a look. And the book was, I don't know, about 80% done, I think, at that time. And sure enough, sent him where I was at that point. And the next morning, I had a contract in my inbox from Codebreaker to do the original Road to Awesome book. And man, it was a whirlwind, because that was just a couple of weeks from where we are right now. I think I want to say I signed the contract on April 25th, and sure enough, the book was live on July 1st. So pretty amazing. And I think, we talk about, some of the connections and all of those incredible people that we have been able to build that family with. And a big chunk of that goes back to that codebreaker relationship with Brian Aspinall, with Daphne McMenemy. And obviously we've had them both as guests on the show. And then that kind of spun forward to your connection with Codebreaker.
And the bridge right there is, both of us tell people all the time, you have a story, you need to tell it. So even if you don't think you're going to write a book, write down your stories, because they are phenomenal, especially if you're an educator. So as Darren said, it was last summer. Actually, it was July 1st. I know that because it was Canada Day, and we had Brian on as our guest. And we happened to be doing the show during the day at that time, meaning earlier in the day, not at night, because everything was closed down. And we were saluting to our relatives and friends in Canada. So that's how I met Brian on the Empower Half Hour. And then we started talking about some of the things that I was doing. The first book that I wrote, 50 Great Things Leaders Do, Let's Get Fired Up. The premise there is, if you take 50 things, and it was a lot of research of when I was principal. Actually, the first edition came out in 06, and then the second in 17, is that you take 50 things, you put them in a jar, not any 50 things, but the 50 great things, and you roll them out on the table and you pick them up. And let's say you have 5 there. Those 5 things will make you a better person and a better leader. It's not, you have to do number 1, raise the bar to do number 2, set goals, et cetera, but any of those things can make you better. And then I connected stories of my educational career with those 50 great things. And when we were talking to Brian, one of the things I did when I was principal was run these workshops for kids, for educators, for anyone that would listen, parents, all the stakeholders. And it was more methodical. So we came up, I had 4 domains, and Brian said, what you talk about is your passion. So why don't we add that 5th domain, passion, and that kind of drives all the other domains. Mm-hmm. So that's the shortened version of how Darren and I came up with a way to tell our stories. But you guys out there have stories too. So if you're not telling them, someone else will, and you may not like the ending. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Start preaching.
Well, and that kind of spins it forward then to how Road to Awesome went from, an LLC that was really just for the speaking and consulting work, and has now become its own publishing house. And, again, that's, I go back to that relationship with Brian and a conversation in December that I was having with him. And, he and I were texting one early morning. I'm having coffee, I don't know, 5 a.m. or whatever. Excuse me. And I had a text from him, and it was a picture, those pictures you take, screenshots from Amazon when your book's like a, number 2, hot new release or a bestseller or whatever. But we're 6 months into Road to Awesome being live, and it's number 1 again in Canada. And he texted me that, and I'm like, why? I haven't done anything. I've done nothing to promote that book for the last 2 months. And he's like, well, that's just the way it works. People are starting to catch on. They're starting to read your book. Have you thought about taking that next step and raising up and helping to tell the stories of educators? And he said, when Brian and I had our conversation in April last year, it was, hey, one of the things I had considered was self-publishing my own book. And he's remembered that and knew that, I have some long-term goals in terms of, and I guess they're maybe more short-term than they are long-term, right? But, in terms of helping to lift up the voices of others. And he said, this might be a great opportunity, might be a great time. I'm happy to support you through the process. And Road to Awesome as a publisher was launched. And just this last weekend, actually on Easter Sunday, our very first book, Road to Awesome LLC's first published book, went live, and it just showed up at my door about an hour ago. This bad boy right here. And really exciting to see, oops, I'm backwards, to see the RTA logo on the back of a book. It's pretty amazing. And I know we've got a bunch more coming. Our second book will probably be out sometime in the next 2 weeks, and that's Rob Breyer's book. And then we've got Debbie Tannenbaum's book, hopefully relatively quick behind that one, and John Van Dusen's book right after that. And I see Melissa Wright is on here, and Melissa is writing her book under the Road to Awesome brand. It just, Frank, it's something that you and I know. I mean, we've known each other for, I don't even know how long, 13, 14 years. It just goes back to building those relationships, right? There we go. There it is. 50 straight episodes, relationships. Yes, I got it. But it's about relationships, right, man? I mean, you think about everybody we've had on this show, there's been a relationship that got them here.
You know what? One of the things that as you know, when I decided to give up the principalship, one of the things I wanted to do was get back in the classroom. So I've been teaching this university class, leadership. It's called Leadership Strategy and Change. And almost everything we talk about is building those relationships. But one of the key components, one of the key leadership qualities is listening. And I think that when you just sit down and listen to someone's story, especially if you have just met them, if they're a new person, a new relationship, and you listen to who they are, that's one side of it. Another side of it is people that you've known for over a decade, and you've never really heard their story, whether it's a time factor, whether it's you've never been in the same place or the same zone to sit down and hear it, and you start learning about who these people are. And that's one thing. If do I have any regrets in my educational career or in my life so far? Absolutely not. But that's I'm always pushing the envelope. Now, would I do things differently? Well, absolutely, because hindsight is 2020. But one of the things is to listen to people. Just probably in the second half of my career, I started doing exit interviews for everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean every eighth grader that left our school, every person that retired or went on to another job, just to listen to their stories. And the most challenging and the most rewarding was listening to every student that left our school. And the feedback was honest, it was true, it was trustworthy, and it was time consuming. But how could you afford not to? And I know logistically that's not possible in many schools. I mean, heck, a graduating class could be 2,000 people. Ours, the whole time I was principal, was 150 or less. So it was doable, and it took several weeks, but it was, I'd have to say, one of the most rewarding things that I ever decided to do as an educator was to sit down and listen to another human being who I may or may not ever see again. And you talk about honesty, and you talk about getting those ideas that you always wanted. Ask a kid, ask a student.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you will get the feedback that you need.
Yeah.
You may not like
that,
all of it, but that's okay.
no, that's okay. That's how you grow. Hearing you tell that story makes me think of a story that you and I have a very unique role in. One of the guests that we had on, one of my favorite guests, is a former student of yours, Julie Lang. And having Julie on, oh my gosh, yeah, I know. And exactly where I'm going to go with this story. A few weeks ago,
before you go there, there's a comment from Bradley W. Skinner.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Can't be here today, but has that much respect for us in the show that he hits us up with a comment. I salute you, my brother.
We love you, Bradley. I was going to go there too. I'm glad that you stopped me though before we got too far down the rabbit hole with the
Well,
story of
because
Julie
I
and
don't want to.
Andrew.
I was starting to tear up when you mentioned the name Julie. Okay, so
Well, you needed the redirect, I'm sure, and we'll both need it here in a minute, and anybody who's watching will too. And um, if you caught the episode with Julie, you know that Julie is a former student of Frank's, who was one of those kids that in one of those workshops, in one of those times, listened when Frank talked about why he had a note card in his pocket and about goal setting and about just being true to yourself, and that's who Julie is. Julie also happens to have cerebral palsy. Doesn't change who she is. She's brilliant. I have a former student when I was at Rock Springs High School who also happens to have cerebral palsy. His name is Andrew. Andrew and I have stayed very close. He was the kid I met at the front door every single day. Walked with canes to help him, and obviously I was always at the front door. But in Andrew's case, and I never told him this, but I think he knew. I just wanted to walk down the hallway with him, especially on those days when it was a little bit muddy or a little bit wet, because I didn't want him have his cane slip on the on the tile, just because I didn't want to see him get hurt. And so I walked him to his music class almost every day for 2 years. That's where he had his first hour class. And he reached out to me recently. He was just kind of having some struggles, and he also is going into education, and he is going to be a teacher. And I remember telling him, Andrew, there's a lot I can tell you. I've been an educator for a long time, but I think there's somebody else who might be able to help you. And I texted Julie and just said, hey, here's what I've got going on. And Frank, it wasn't 5 minutes, and Julie was on that Zoom call with Andrew. And I left after about 30 minutes. I know they talked for at least another hour. And it was just this powerful connection between two people who have no reason to have ever met. But because of the relationship that you built with Julie, the relationship I built with Andrew, and the relationship you and I have, that connection was able to be made. And I know that Andrew is going to be successful because he's got Julie in his corner. And I know that Julie feels empowered and loved and appreciated because we were able to put her in that space, and or she made herself available to be in the space. We didn't put her there, but it's not a direct Empower Half Hour story, but she was a guest of ours, and it's a story that I just really felt we needed to tell tonight, because it's something I'm very touched by that, and I know it goes back to you, my friend, just being who you were as a principal and making that connection with Julie.
You know what? You and Julie give me too much credit. The ways that you guys have inspired me goes beyond beyond words. But when it came time to get a forward to my last book, Fired Up Leadership, I just want to read you the last paragraph of Fired Up Leadership, because it will inspire you if you're not already inspired. As you read, I challenge you to discover ways that you are impacting the world. Read as if you already know you're an inspiring leader. Let this be the read that restores your heart. Be a reminder that you are a sense of hope for others. Thank you, Julie Lang.
Yeah. She's amazing. She really, truly is. Yeah. It's been, gosh, man, 50 episodes and so many incredible, powerful, and emotional guests. I mean, holy cow, buddy. We have, I'm a little teary eyed right now, having just told that story. But man, we've had some damn good cries from some of our guests with just some of the stories that they've told. And I just really hope that over the course of the first 50 episodes, and certainly for the next 50 episodes and beyond, that, if we've been able to pass a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of hope, and a little bit of love along to fellow educators out there. And honestly, Frank, we have people who aren't educators who dial in. If we're able to just spread just a little bit of love and joy and hope for them, aside from the fact that once a week I get to hang out with you and Bradley, which just absolutely fills my cup every week, um, then the whole thing's worth it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a phenomenal ride, and we haven't nearly gotten into what we need to get into and what we want to get into as far as bringing in guests, talking about things that are happening as we speak. And it's going to be a wilder ride than it already has been. So thank you to everyone that's been out there and puts up with us, for
Yeah.
lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty crazy. So let's talk about how people can win some of this stuff. We know we've got a few people watching tonight. I don't know that we were able to get the word out quite as well as normal, and that was because you and I were just talking pre-show and lost track of time. But but I've got an Empower Lead Change the Game Road to Awesome shirt that I'm ready to give out. I've got a copy of Road to Awesome, Empower Lead Change the Game, and a copy of Empower Road to Awesome, a journey for kids, that I am happy to autograph and send out as well. So I would say send me a DM, and we'll see who lands one of those awesome prizes. Frank, your prizes.
Yeah, and we have, don't forget, each of us has a ticket to the Codebreaker Power Summit that's coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I have a copy of each one of my books and 2 T-shirts to give away. So DM me at Dr. Frank Rudd on Twitter, or instant message me here on Facebook, and we'll get it rolling.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely those opportunities to attend the Codebreaker Power Summit for free. Frank and I each have a couple of those that we can give away. I see my buddy in Wyoming, Corey Jeff, go on here. Glad to see Corey's name in here. And Corey, I think you'd be a perfect guy to get one of those opportunities to view the Power Summit. Lisa Tobin is asking the question in the comments, Frank, what is the Power Summit? Man, it's like one of the big events, man. It is a 2-day true Power Summit.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's a St. Louis Cardinals fan that lives under a rock or something, not to know what the Codebreaker Power Summit is. But first of all, the lineup is extraordinary. I don't know. I mean, when I see the people that are going to speak before me, I'm just trying to kind of hold my own doing that thing. But it is phenomenal. The granddaughter of Rube Goldberg is the opening keynote, and the closing keynote is Brian Aspinall. And there are about 20 people in between, and your ticket gets you access to all of it. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and Frank and I both are speaking. I am the closing keynote on day one. I don't remember exactly when your time slot is, Frank, but I'm sure you know.
I don't, but it's going to be
okay. Well, maybe you don't.
It's going to get you fired up.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I mean, just off the top of my head, some of the folks that are in the lineup as speakers, I know that Barb Schwaman is going to be speaking. She's a superintendent in Iowa, and her big thing is all things STEM, and is going to talk about how you push STEM all the way across your district, and she's brilliant at that. Let's see. Debbie Tannenbaum will be speaking. Debbie has a book coming out from Road to Awesome called Transform, Techie Notes to Make Learning Sticky. And I believe she is doing her Transform keynote, which is going to talk about all those incredible technology tools that you can use in the classroom. And more importantly, how do you actually take them and turn them into meaningful learning with your students? I'm certain Bradley Skinner is speaking again. Yeah.
Chad,
I can't think of who all's on there. There's just a big lineup. Yeah.
We got Chad, we got Roman, we got Brandon. Yep. So a lot of authors are speaking, and they'll speak to not necessarily. I'm speaking directly to the 5 domains of fired up leadership. Some of the other authors may or may not be, but when you get that ticket access, you'll be able to see everything that's happening and who the speakers are.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to roll out a new keynote for this one. I'm going to do one that I haven't done before. The title of it is Educators Matter. And this is just going to be me speaking from the tips of my toes all the way up through my gut on, damn it, educators matter, and what educators have been through and what they have done and what they continue to do on behalf of kids everywhere matters. And that is what that one's going to be all about. And I will tell you more once it's finished, because it's not done yet. Still
Thank
have
you for
some
tuning
writing to
in
do.
to the first 50
Yeah.
episodes of the Empower Half Hour, your fastest half hour of the week. The next 50 episodes promise to be even better. So check us out. And if you would like to be a guest on the Empower Half Hour, hit us up and we'll check you out, whoever you are. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Peace and love. Always win.
On behalf of Bradley Skinner, who can't be here tonight, I'm Darren Peppard for Frank Korneski. Get out there, have a road to awesome week. Thank you for 50 amazing episodes. We look forward to keep it rocking and rolling.
True.